Hello, everyone. Today's 20th of January, Friday, 21 o'clock UK time, and we are continuing reality talks with Alex, which we are doing every Friday. Today with me is Biffy Ippel from the United States. She's a parenting coach, but also much more than this. And we are going to speak today about reality, about consciousness, about actually everything that is inspiring us to be what we most authentically would like to express ourselves to be. And of course, I think that more of us are actually willing to be of help for others. And this is, I think, the driving force behind all those of us that are really willing to go into helping and supporting other people to become and to be, of course, the best version of themselves. And I'm happy that you are here. And of course, when I heard that you are a parenting coach, I did not know that this thing exists. As I'm a ruling reality coach, it is also something that is not so usual, but I will be glad to hear how are you able to help people, and how and what is your perspective towards life and so on. Thank you for coming.
Oh, I'm really appreciative and honored to be on here, Alexander. It's really great and excited for this. Yeah, well, what really got me in the direction ultimately for parent coaching, that was what I would say was the first direction towards entrepreneurship. That was the first foundational thing for me. And I found really my awakening or calling to it in 2020. And I think prior to it, probably around 2018, 2019, I was considering the idea of becoming a parent coach, and because I was in more of a dead end career. And I had a choice, of course, in 2020 if I was going to continue to go down that road or if I was going to go and do something new. And I eventually ended up deciding to do something new, obviously, but it took a while to get there. What really got me there is I heard a meditation from Bob Proctor and his work. And when I heard that I was God's highest form of creation and I wasn't living my full potential, that's what gave me the ability and courage to go and try something new and break through some of that terror barrier of leaving what I was familiar with. And so I've been on this journey since May 2020, and that's transitioned also to being in the business industry of network marketing, as well as a wealth and investment club that helps people get multiple sources of income. And it's been amazing, Alexander. I know one of the things you and I were even speaking about a few weeks ago was just on this journey, the type of trying to find where you can be aware and mindful, and at the same time where you have your authenticity in the same place too. We see often that's lost, and I really enjoyed our conversation from that a few weeks ago.
Yeah. I also, when I listened to some of your videos, I really sensed and felt deep inside of me that you are authentically expressing yourself. And actually, this is the most valuable part for each of us, because when we have this authenticity, we are emitting for all the other beings something that particularly cannot be found somewhere else, because this is the way collaboration starts to exist, because all of us are exchange our values, and our values, which all of us have, are deep inside of us. And once we decide and dare to start expressing them, only then magic starts to begin. And I'm so thankful that you have dared to start expressing yourself, because everything that you have inside of you is valuable for all of us. So if you can share more about the specific areas in which you are now helping people, and what are your things that you're really passionate about, and where you can see these changes happening.
Absolutely. I love that question. So I would say when I got awakened in 2020. I found out the reason why I was born. And so long-term goal, or C-type goal, for, those who know Bob Proctor's work, is to build a new school system that will have more conscious kind of mindful parenting, incorporate my parent coaching practice for that, and find a way to make each generation more and more aware. As I've been on this journey and going through the process of network marketing and then the Wealth and Investment Club, I've come to also see, Alexander, that place of freedom and abundance with changing our mindset around income, around finances, around all of that, and how that is such a strong paradigm for people, because we've got generations of it that have gone for a long time. You really don't have to leave your house to even hear these types of strongholds, these strong paradigms about money, about finances. So it's a really challenging one for people to overcome. I see why repetition is key for some of this stuff, because it's one, I think, that requires that patience, because we've heard so many things about it, Alexander. I was just on a phone with a friend about how the one I had heard constantly in my life is always working hard. Your mother works hard, your grandmother worked hard, so and so worked hard, and now you work hard. And that cycle still continuing to go. And that's something I've been trying to understand and unlearn, that the kind of affirmations or the kind of gratitudes around money flowing easily or coming easily, that's something for me that I go, wow, this is such a strong paradigm, because in my mind I go, I can't make money unless I'm working hard. And I see a lot of places where I was wanting to find ways to free people from so many barriers. Of course, I'm seeing these generational issues in parenting. I saw a lot of people just become parents because they're just told to, congratulations, you got married. Now, when are you going to have kids? Now, when are you going to do this? And no one's ever satisfied, right, Alexander? It's like you date. They say, well, when are you going to get engaged? You get engaged. Well, when are you going to get married? They always just keep asking for the next thing. You just had your firstborn. Oh, well, when are you going to have the second one? And I just saw people weren't being aware of those kinds of questions. It was just, you go and do that, and that's that. We've always done it for however long. And same with finances. We've always been in this struggle for a very long time. And so what I really started seeing or awakening to and wanting to be more involved with in people is, of course, ways that in the family life we can make the parenting a primary core positive kind of experience, positive memory, positive environment for kids. Because I know if we create that for kids, we'll have adults in a better position. We won't have kids that are struggling with similar paradigms that you and I have. Let's change the narrative of that. And then, of course, same financially. I was at a place where, especially with a lot of the concept of multiple streams of income, I think that's phenomenal advice that people give you to say, hey, Alexander, make sure if you want to build wealth, go get multiple streams of income. But the problem is, too, no one's really telling you how to do it. And so I fell into a lot of mistakes with it, whether it was shiny object syndrome or getting into things that weren't necessarily going to serve the other businesses that I was in. And I sat at this place of going, well, what can we do about that? Because I think some of the issue that's also going on with it is part of saying whatever your goal is, whatever your journey is that you're trying to accomplish. I think sometimes we make the journey one size fits all for everybody. So we say, great, Alexander, Biffy, you all have this as your vision. They're different things, but if you follow the exact same things, you'll get there. And I mean, there's so many factors as to why that wouldn't necessarily be true for you and me, right? We live in different places. We've got different kind of responsibilities. And so I think that's something I've been seeing that I also want to make a change and impact in is finding more ways where we can be open to Having the structural ways of creating success, because I do think there are very similar things, right? If, for example, you and me, if we're on journeys of expanding our mind and going for our goals, are there certain habits that you and I are going to have to shift and change? Oh, yeah, absolutely. So that process is going to probably be similar, but is it going to be equal in the sense of saying if I do this and if you do that, we're going to get the exact same results? I'm not quite sure about that, and that's something I've been kind of noticing on the board when I see people speak, and you and I were even speaking about that in our last conversation as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's why for me personally, I stopped long ago changing the world or giving advices. And the only thing I'm doing is working on myself, changing and transforming myself, and just being an example and sharing what is working for me. And then, because knowledge anyhow is made like a pyramid, and in the fundamental of the pyramid, everything so specific, so different. And when I hear people, everything in life is cause and effect. It is very true, but there is never one cause for one effect. For one effect, it's more than 1,000 causes. And for each of us, they are different and very specific and very unique because of the experience we have. And then life becomes much more complex. And this is what I like about reality, but also because I like, and I have a lot of questions regarding parenting, because I have 3 children. I think you have 2 or one of
Yes.
you have 2, yeah. Mine are almost grown. The oldest one is 18. She's going to be 19 soon. 14 and 11, so they're growing faster. But one of the things that I evolved in my parenting, first we wanted in the beginning to be very strongly influencing upon them. Then, because of my religious, Christian background, we decided, okay, we are not going to force religion or some type of worldview upon our children, because maybe later on in life they're going to hate because of their parents and their old beliefs. They're going to resist everything that was, for example, precious for my generation and for my personal life. And we decided to grow them up as free as possible. They never went into a school system. They were homeschooled, all of them. And when they became teenagers, they were a little bit against this, and they said, well, we don't have a lot of friends, and so on and so on. Then for some period, they went to the high school in a specific private schools, but all the time they were nourished with private teachers with a lot of attention. So they were learning all the knowledge, but in a very specific way. And during this period, the only thing I wanted is they to be thinking for themselves and to make their own so-called educing, to understand the knowledge from the inside out. And what happened is that when they become more and more aware beings, we received actually what we wanted for, because they became independent beings. They wanted their own life in the way they wanted and so on. And instead of us refusing, we decided to let it go. And now we are happy that all of them are going into different directions, not according to our own directions and following. And even my daughter, during the period of 12 to 15 years, went through a crisis where she went very deep inside of her. She was very grieved and didn't like a lot of the things that are happening in her life. And anyhow, she went through this. She was blaming us for everything. One of the best gifts she wanted for her birthday or for New Year, I don't remember, was to go to a psychologist. And from this moment, for the last 3 or 4 years, I'm paying every month for the psychologist, where she goes and I'm the villain. She speaks against her father, in the sense that in her own personal life, I'm the one that is the most evil hero, so to say. But in a sense,
Yeah.
later on in life, I understood that it is better a person you know to play this role than a total stranger that is in a non-secure environment is going to create a real deep harms into your soul. And as more I was growing in my parenting, I came even to the conclusion in the last 2 years after I went to a lot of type of relationship courses where I really changed a lot. My relationship towards my children, our relationship between us changed a lot, and this was a very big success for me because there are a lot of things we cannot buy with money, we cannot buy with wealth and abundance, and they are much more precious than all the other shiny things. And I was so happy that I was able to understand what is my role in the children parenting of their life. And I'm really happy that actually now she's went strongly into psychology. Now she's educating in the UK for psychology. She wants to help people. She understands the human psyche, and she went so deep through her journey. But now she becomes more and more brilliant young woman that is really going into her gift and purpose and meaning in life, which is anyhow in the end the big goal of our parenting, because sometimes we think that we're just doing good for the children, and in the end they're seeing just the opposite from all our efforts. And sometimes the thing that we thought we were we did the worst things for them actually happened to be transformed into their future destiny. So we never know how reality is actually using our parenting role into creating these new beings. Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, thank you for sharing that. I love that story, and I know it's never easy to have those kind of situations in parenting, but it's as you said, it's, brought your daughter more in the direction of psychology. And I mean, I'm sure she's gonna really impact the world because of the kind of experience she's had through it and everything. And yeah, it's always interesting, right? Because sometimes we just don't know what kind of perception our kids are having. And of course, when they start to become older and able to express it more, then we're just like, wow, when were you experiencing this and everything?
Yeah, and for example, in her personal life, everything happens when she was maybe 2 or 3 years old, and she fell on the ground and we didn't pick her up. This was her first impression. And then she felt lost, that nobody's supporting her. And in our mind as parents, we just wanted this child to learn to stand up and to be itself, and so on and so on. So in the same moment, there were two different concepts that were working together in this reality, and then they created a total different journeys for these two different beings. But this is part of reality. We don't control everything. We control only our own self, and that's why it's very important to be authentic in everything we are doing, because of course we are loving each other, but with the love that we are expressing, maybe the others are not perceiving it the way we think.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's fascinating to go through that as a parent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And later on, maybe 1 year ago, when I heard Sadhguru speaking about the biggest evil in humanity, he said that the biggest evil, it was in some YouTube video, that the biggest evil in humanity are the parents, because the parents are the ones that are forming all the stereotypes. All the bad habits are the example about everything that then is replicated in the children. And through the educational system, actually, we are closing this soul instead of allowing it to flourish in its own and unique way, and so on and so on. And in the beginning, I was a little bit hurt of this message. I was very strongly resisting it. But of course, there's a fundamental truth in it. And yeah, in a way, subconsciously we know how to be parents, and more we hear our subconsciousness and intuition, we are going to be good, authentic parents, according to me, not according to what society is saying, not according to what everyone else, as you are saying, is demanding from us. But yeah, there is a very interesting connection there. And for me, it's very interesting to know more about this parenting coaching, because it's so powerful. I was in a relationship, a program for the last 2 years, where I heard ladies at their 60s, 70s, where they still remember, and the biggest issue in their life was some mother-daughter relationship or father-daughter relationship. And I said, wow, I have children that I'm still forming. And if this behavior of mine is going to be the focal point of all of their life of 40, 50, or 60, 70 years, what I'm doing right now is so important. I even couldn't realize it before. So it's so interesting to have such type of parenting coaching in the right time when the children are formed.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate all that, Alexander. I see a lot of the things that you're saying and the concepts, because I would say when I do end up working with, a parent or couples or even co-parents that want to come together to figure things out, it really is fascinating, because there's a lot of, and we see this even with mindfulness practice, right? There's a lot of people coming into whatever it is saying, I don't know what I'm doing. And a lot of times our first sessions are typically they're asking me, well, I don't know, should I do this? Should I do that? Should I do this? And it's just as you said, the more we take time to, I believe, look within, is where we get a lot of those answers. We get a lot of that intuition. And one of the biggest things I always love telling parents, and I think this is even just a general good philosophy in life, is to always stay curious. If you observe your kids doing something, or there's some sort of behavior coming out that perhaps people would say, oh, well, that's a negative misbehavior. Well, no, not necessarily. Your child is trying to find a way to maybe express something as best as they can, and get very curious. Wow, that's interesting. Like I'll tell you an example. My son, who's 5, we were starting actually recently to notice this pattern. For a while, he's just been, well, you guys said this, and you guys didn't do that. You guys said this, and we were kind of going, where is this coming from? This is a fairly new pattern. And as we started to, at first there was that resistance. Oh, well, this is so frustrating. Why is he being this way? And then they shift back to that, wait a minute, let's be curious, let's figure out what's going on. I was able to sit with him and say, hey, have there been things where you're feeling like, mom and dad aren't being consistent? And he said yes. And at that point, we're able to go, we're so sorry, that there's nothing where we have any intention of that. We probably are being inconsistent in something, and so let's find where we can talk about that. Where if you feel like we don't have your back, if you feel like we're saying one thing and doing the other, let's talk about those things and figure out a solution. And it's not always perfect, right? Because that's still something we're even dealing with today, of figuring out, okay, where did this outburst come from, all of a sudden. But I think that curiosity helped us both be able to stop and say, this is not random. for how he is. And I noticed that a lot with parents. I think our society disempowers that kind of confidence that we know about our kids naturally. And so we think, I have to get this book, I have to go to this expert, I have to do all these things. And I think getting those resources are phenomenal, especially knowing what kind of things developmentally are going on with your child. That's going to help give that grace and understanding. Oh, my kid's a teenager, this is what they're experiencing. Oh, my kid's a toddler, this is what they're experiencing right now. But I also think there's so many places where when the should I's happen, I always tell people, I say, hey, if we're not going to go through I should have done this, I should have done that. That's not the point of parent coaching. It's not for me to go now, you know, should do this, should do that. It's really to have those conversations, guide you, be a support, co-construct with some suggestions of, well, developmentally, this is something your child's going through, so it could possibly be factoring to some of these behaviors, factoring to some of these things. Well, you know, it sounds like there's some places in your house where there could possibly be an improvement of routine so your kid can feel more secure. You know, is there a way I can help you create more routine, more structure? But more of that co-constructing with people. You know, I always want parents to feel like they're getting that support, not that judgment of someone coming in and just saying, wow, oh my goodness, you've been my worst client or something. No, you know, I don't want that. I want to also, as a coach, I think it's important to stay and remain curious as well, for people. And you always want to say, where can, in this situation, where can growth happen? Where's that growth point? And I mean, even in you know, my son again, and my daughter too, very, very strong. You know, they'll let you know, hey, I am not going to do that if they don't want to do it. And to go, this is great qualities of somebody who's showing leadership, that they're not going to get swayed away. So where's the place for growth in this? Where can we see the stage of characters, the positive characters coming out now, instead of, oh, my kid, you know, is bossy, my kid is this, my kid is that. Let's detach from that energy and actually see where it can grow.
Yeah, that's true. And I know a lot of tendency, and especially in the last, I don't know, 78 years, where work and wealth and abundance is more important than parenting. And we want both the parents to work, and we're going to have nannies and so on and so on, because we want all the goodies of the what we can have. But then now, from the perspective of the years, I'm almost 50, 48 years old. And when I understand now how much this parenting is later on in life affecting these small children, now I understand why it's so important. I was thinking in the past, well, these ladies, for example, they're so educated, they're finished universities, and then why they want to stay home to take care of their kids, to educate them and so on, and to put so much energy in them. And maybe for society it's much more better, all these mothers, to be in the workplace and so on and so on. But then who is going to care for these parenting principles to enter into the subconscious? Because this is the time when we are programming their subconsciousness, consciously or subconsciously, we are doing it anyhow. And a lot of patterns are created in them. And I remember when I for the first time heard about this future self concept, and I was speaking with my son. He was maybe 12 then. And I said, well, who am I? I'm speaking now. Do I speak with a 12-year-old? Or can I envision this future young person with whom I'm speaking today while I'm still his father? And in 10 years, he's going to be so busy, he's anyhow not going to have any time for me. So if I have the moment now, and when I heard the concept about don't tell me what are your priorities, show me your calendar. And then I said, well, what about my calendar? There is nothing about family in my calendar. So I did all my timing into zones. In the morning till 8 o'clock, all the time is for myself, my inner being, and so on and so on. But in the evening after 7 o'clock, all my time is for the family. So I put some type of intentions, because a lot of us, we are dreaming and hoping, I want a car, I want a house, we want things. But I said, okay, I want to have at least 30 minutes talk with each of my children in the evening. Is it possible this to happen? And when I had this time, I was so happy that, wow, one of my strong desires was fulfilled. And when I started changing, they were so looking at me, because for the first time, then I realized that when I'm changing my attitude, when my inner perspective and concept of life has changed, they change simultaneously. All my children, they start looking at me differently, they start behave differently. And then I realized that it's not only children, it's energies, it's 100% independent, autonomous beings, and we are not something more only because we are older and bigger than them, but we are actually quite potentially the same in a sense. So we should have much more respect for this future potential life. And yeah, I mean, it's a very wonderful time. I know that maybe because now I'm almost going out of this, and it's not so, now it's, for me, it's more like, oh, this child is going to leave my house, as my daughter is now not living with us, and she's happy that she's not living with us. In a sense, now in the next 3 to 5 years, the other kids are going to leave us. So anyhow, in a sense, we are little by little detaching almost 100% for them as normal parenting. And the only thing we want is to be example as much as possible, but with our own personal lives, without giving them specific advices how to do it like us, because we are totally different. And for example, when I was very passionate about ruling reality and understanding why life is interesting, I was seeing how my children are playing the computer games and so on and so on. And I said, if I just tell them no, 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 it's not going to happen, because they say, what is the alternative? To be a bored person like my father or my mother, where there is nothing interesting happening in their lives. So better stay with the games. And then I said, well, I should actually understand why life is interesting, why it's interesting to live it, why it's interesting to have big dreams, to have big projects, to have a lot of nice, interesting things happening in your personal reality, in order they to say, well, wow, this is interesting. It's even more fun than the games. Tell me more. And then real conversation happen. For example, I've never been in the digital space. They're constantly in Instagram, some different small children gay platforms, and then youngers, and so on and so on. And now when they know, oh, you're always in YouTube, you're always in Facebook, what are you doing? Why are you constantly doing this or doing that? And then I start a new, much more deeper conversation. So they little by little are starting to look that we are doing things that are different, that are new, that are starting to become fascinating for them. And this is the way I decided that I'm going to attract away them from this so-called metaverse. And for me, I created my own concept, realverse versus the metaverse. I want to show young people and my own children and others that it is very interesting and fun to live the real life. My son, for example, something like 1 week ago, he said, oh, I don't want to go to school. It's so boring. I don't feel it. And he knows all these new interesting mindset concepts, and he is explaining them to me, and so on and so on, why he should not do it. And I say, okay, you see now, anyhow, in life, not everything is beautiful and wonderful all the time. So you need to learn how to mix, find at least 2 or 3 interesting things during this period, which you are happy about. Are you happy about between the student hours? I mean, when you are in the free time. Oh yes, I like this. Do you like when you go to fitness after this? Yes, I like this. Do you like something else? And little by little, I say, okay, now you need to focus that with some things that are negative in life. If you attach something beautiful next to it, you are going to learn how to go through this, because it's not possible all the time to have only positive and high vibe experiences. It's not possible, because otherwise you're going to go into other different stimulations that are going to give you a fake experience about the possibilities. And
Yes.
yeah, parenting is a very powerful tool, and the results are strongly affecting all of us.
Hmm.
Mm.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I love the point, Alexander. I mean, you made a lot of great points, and I think actually one of the ones that you struck that I went, that's amazing, is in the specific kind of parent coaching that I got. We actually studied everything that's going on in the sense of overuse of technology with children and what impact that's doing to their growth, their brains. And it's been interesting because when I was learning all of this, of course, I was getting trained in 2020. And so here I am, I have a practicum where I'm meeting with parents who they're already at this place saying, well, I have to work. So I put my kids on a screen all day, or the iPad all day, so I can get some work done. They're not in school right now, school's canceled or whatever. um, and so there's obviously been a huge shift, and we even see it now, right? Zoom was not a thing until COVID happened. Then all of a sudden, oh, Zoom became this big popular thing, and people say, oh, it's nice to meet you or virtual meet you now. We've had just this big shift. And I think I love what you were talking about with the kind of involvement, the places where you really want to help with figuring out what to do with that boredom that kids are having, because that technology is just instant gratification. And as a coach who's gotten specific kind of training into that, been I've been at a place where I go, what are we going to do? Because there is a shift going on. So how do we accept that our world is going in that direction, but also find ways where we can still help our kids navigate what's going on with it, where the iPad isn't the babysitter all day or the solution for when they're bored. And it's really been interesting. It's really been something I've had a lot of questions about, with being at that place of having knowledge on both sides of that place of going, well, it's easier to, as a parent, to hand the iPad, then I can go and get everything done or whatever. And then also being on the other side of going, well, that's where's the place where there's overusage going on.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of difficult questions, but when we imagine that actually our kids are going not only to stay in the digital reality, but are going to be maybe half of their life is going to be with virtual reality things over their heads, and so on and so on, because this is where the world is going. This is where they're going to work in jobs that are not existing today, and so on and so on. I mean, the only beautiful thing we can still implant into them, that there is something interesting about normal reality also.
Yes, very much so. It's interesting. I mean, you can see in different countries there's screens everywhere, on the
Yeah.
train, in the bathroom, in the elevator, and absolutely just finding that where's that place of showing life is also happening here in our 3D reality.
Yeah, of course, and especially with this simulation theory that is now going on everywhere, and matrix reality and so on, you don't know at all
Yes.
which simulation we are in or we are out of, and so on and so on. And yeah, that's why I'm very passionate about what I'm doing regarding ruling reality coaching, where I'm explaining a lot of different concepts in different area of life, because for me, what the personal development is giving today, maybe 20 years ago it was precious, because the world was much more so to say analog and less
Mhm.
complex. But in today worlds where there are so many dimensions crossing over, it is not so easy just to go with small recipes of success or some type of only mindset thinking, only one or two tools. We need, maybe this is how I envision it. Today we need to know at least 100 to 200 different tools and to be using them all the time in such a way that we are actually doing it subconsciously. That's why a lot of my time I'm using to work on programming my being, in order when I'm going into the conscious reality during the day to work as much as possible with my subconscious and intuition. And I was not debating, but giving different ideas about where is the effort and where is the effortless, because we the human being want everything to happen for us effortlessly, but also we know that we need to put efforts, and we are constantly mismatching this. And what I found out is that actually we are during the day to live effortlessly through our subconsciousness in order to understand what is our level of authenticity in this given moment, but also to put as much as possible efforts into reprogramming our future. So it's both the things together. We are living effortlessly, and again, we are putting efforts, but not in the same directions. It's two different flows in the same time during the day. So for me, it was very interesting thing that I'm implementing personally in my reality, because I mean, from the point of view where it's wealth and abundance or a lot of other things, I mean, I have a lot of businesses. I'm prospering even more. And what I found out that more and more I'm trying to give away myself into coaching, and I decided to give 1/7 of my time for helping others to understand why I'm able to live the way I'm living. And a lot of other things are just happening to me, even without me putting efforts into them. Very wonderful. When we trust that we are going to be supported if we are supportive, so to say.
Yes, I love that concept so much, because I think there's so many concepts in this journey and in mindfulness in success that is perhaps it's simple, it's just not easy for us because we're not programmed to think that way. We're very dog eat dog, go get it, go get it. And it's very interesting to find where the more you actually add value to somebody else, that also gets your plate full. And we're not used to that because we're told, nope, push that person aside, go think about yourself. And, if it's all their problem, if they're not there and everything. And so I think that's been a big paradigm shift for me too, is to ask in conversations, how do I add value to somebody? How do I make them feel important? Especially, being in direct sales, that's not what people teach you. And unfortunately it's being passed down the line, right? They say, go, sell this product or sell this service. And, I've come to see how important it is. You got to be relational. That's so foundational. You got to be there, and you got to get to a place where if your product or service is something that can help them, then great. You can figure out from there after you've been relational. But if you also have made connections and that somebody else's service might be a better fit, being able to go and say, hey, you know what? I think Alexander would be a better person to connect and speak about with this. He's got more knowledge or more expertise in this. I think sometimes we get so that we lose that spirit of opulence. We get into a scarcity kind of mindset. And that's what we're programmed to do. That spirit of opulence it's simple. It's just, it's not easy because of we've been in a scarcity mindset for a very long time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also interested in the way you are coaching or training in the wealth and abundance mindset, because I'm still developing my program called Beyond Success Reality, where I'm going into the deep, into the invisible, in order to explain how from there everything happens in the visible. But how are you presenting for yourself, and how are you able to add value for people that are willing to go into this wealth and abundance mindset?
Yeah. So when I first started, I, I was in the realm of network marketing. That's where it first started. And when I was in different companies at first, it wasn't clicking, it wasn't working. And the reason why is because people were trying to tell me, make the sale. Oh, you can upsell this person. Oh, you can say, oh, hey, Alexander, you really need this, and let me tell you why. And what I really have come to see now from, I've been really grateful to actually have a very phenomenal mentor who he was the one who really changed this in me. And he was the one who helped get me on the right track. He said, I think he learned this from Bob Proctor because he was directly mentored from him, but he said that Bob would always tell them, you got to leave MMFI, make me feel important, on somebody's forehead. And when you're giving that kind of value to somebody with how you leave the conversation, with how that person experienced things and felt. And I've seen just right there, that's where the openness can start to come. Well, what are your goals? What are your dreams? Where are you trying to go? And what kind of things are you doing to help get yourself there? That can be more of an open conversation to become more of a consultative kind of conversation, instead of, well, hey, I got this sale for you and chop chop, let's go. I got to get my commission check. It's happening tomorrow, so let's go, hurry up. Instead of the conversation going that way, just really getting to know people's spirits. And I think really when you're in those moments, just find how to keep continuing to be present. And that's really when you can start, if you're doing that and making that conscious decision, then that's when you can really start to have those conversations with people about what will help them with wealth. And I've come to see that the places that I really want people to get to or understand is, a lot of people are in it's called the 4 levels of earning money. They're in step 1, which is the working. And what I want to do is get them to understand 2, 3, and 4, which is earning, controlling, and multiplying. Now, everyone's in different situations, right? Some people say, I don't know how to earn a dime. How do I do that? And then there's other people, they're saying, I'm earning, but I've got nothing to show at the end of the day. They're the spend, END is at the last words of spend. That's their problem, is they're just ending something instead of finding what to keep their money to grow. And so that's where with them, it's a controlling, and then, okay, what do you have now? You've got this bucket of income coming in. What do we do where we patch up that hole, so it's not just completely gone? What do we do where we patch up that hole? And now let's create another bucket where you can have the income come up. 3rd, 4th, 5th. Let's create these buckets of wealth for you. And let's make sure we patch up the holes on the bottom so that you do have something to show. It's the same thing if you have a village and you only have one well. What's going to eventually happen? It's going to dry up. It is. It's just that's part of life. It's part of reality. And so that's what the thing of streams of income that I want to get people on to, is to not have all their income in one basket. Find it where it can be set out, and in a way, it's that process where eventually their money is making babies, and that's where that earning can happen. That's where when people say, I don't understand how to not work hard for money, things like that, start to show them that process. And part of it too is, I think, if you have somebody, let's say you ask them their salary, it doesn't matter the number. Maybe they say 40,000, maybe they say 80, maybe they say 200,000. But if you ask them, well, what's a goal? And they say, well, I want to be a millionaire. They're already going for a goal that, they're aware of how to make this through a salary and through a 9 to 5. And they're going for a goal that's, way bigger than what they're familiar with. And so I think that's another thing, is trying to help people understand that it is a process, and to even just have grace on this journey with yourself, because it's I think it's very easy to get frustrated. Oh, I didn't earn, I didn't improve, I didn't do this. But if you're going for a place where you're trying to change so many stronghold of paradigms, financially, with wealth and abundance, it's going to be something that takes some time, especially, it's, as you and I are aware, whatever kind of upbringing or experience or things we heard subconsciously about money, then that gets passed on to the kids. And, it's just a cycle that continues. And so it's been a generational cycle to hear money doesn't grow on trees, or we can't afford that, or, what's interesting, Alexander, I heard that somebody found out that they had a very negative mindset around money because when they were little, they found some coins, and what do kids do? They put it in their mouth, and the parents said, take that out of your mouth, that's dirty. And they associated money as dirty, and it became a very negative thing at that point. But those kind of things where we're undoing so much of that, think of it, it's like a rope. There's some paradigms, there's a rope with a few knots and we can get there. But in anything creating generational wealth, there's many knots in that rope. And so it's going to take a while for that to be undone. But that's the thing too, is I always tell people, when we create wealth, I don't want you to just think tangibly, because I think so many people are for the short term. I want to get out of debt. I want to pay all my bills. I want to live comfortably where I'm able to pay all this stuff. And I say, that's great that you want to get on a track like that. But I also want to build wealth for you in here. I want you to be able to wake up every day and believe you're wealthy, believe you're the person, look at yourself in the mirror, love yourself, say, whatever it is, I look good, I am this, I'm that, I'm one of Bob Proctor's things is to say, to always be difficult to replace. I'm difficult to replace. I add value to people. I say, I want you to become wealthy here also. And that's so important for people, because when you become wealthy here, you start to see long-term, instead of just, I can pay my bills. Now you start to see long-term. Well, what can I do with this to create a bigger impact for my family or the world? And that's really what I hope to get people on track for, because I know that if we have more people in that mindset, we're just going to start creating more and more wealth in others. One of my other goals is I want to help 1,000 people become millionaires. And I know the more we have people in a position like that, they're going to be able to, it's just going to be a ripple effect or a replication process.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, for me personally, I like all this generational wealth and legacy, and I like excess, because what I found out, I don't know why, but when I speak especially with some Americans, they want to have just enough for themselves. I want 1 million, but I want 1 million because I need 1 million. And from long time ago, after we had our first house, it was maybe 10 or 15 years ago or 18 years ago. From this moment forward, in the moment we have more than 10 houses and we are building more, and we don't need all these things that we are having and so on. So we're having a lot of excess of money, excess of opportunities. excess of a lot of houses. And when I speak, especially with people from the law of attraction mindset, and when I tell them, guys, I don't need money. Why? No, I always need to say that I should be positive, because in my personal reality first, and this is long ago when I realized it, that the one thing I need in life is assets. First, we need to realize that the first asset in our life is ourselves, as you say. Once we understand what's inside here, the first asset and the first value that is creating the first earning called salary. Then from this salary, if we patch the holes, as you said, and we are able to create from our money assets that are going to create their own money, then actually, for me, the building blocks of wealth is the assets that are working for us. And I remember when I was still young and earning decent money, but I saw an older gentleman from which I bought one land, and he had approximately 10 or 5 or 6 or 7 houses that he was renting, and it was from his grandfather or whatever, but he was really so strongly into having passive income. And I said, well, maybe one day I can have something more than one, so I can become like this old man. And it became like a strong dream inside of me that maybe one day I can have something more than one house, more than one anything. And today, my vision for 2030 is to have 100 houses, which I'm giving as rent all over the world in different places, and creating value out of them for different people in different experiences, and so on and so on. So I like wealth, I like excess, I like abundance. And when I speak with some people, they are afraid because, well, this is going to make you selfish, it is going to make you very proud, or things like this. And actually, paradoxically, it is the opposite. And the more I have, the more responsible I become, because I understand that I am just a steward of things that are actually never mine. The more I need to work with letting go, detaching, because it's very easy to detach from your $10,000, but it's not so easy to detach from your 10 millions or 20 millions. And we need to have the same attitude. It doesn't matter where we are. And that's why I created the principle that for me, money is just a limitation indication. My limitation indicator in the moment is something like 5 to 10 million. But it doesn't matter if I'm better than the one whose indicator is 20,000. Everyone has his limitator indicator, and all of us are just to expand in order to create something more than what is in necessity for ourselves, and to become a value for others through stewardship of these assets. And before, I was identifying myself as a business owner when I made this realization, because before this, I was just an entrepreneur and so on, and the big boss. This was my big identity. Then I realized what is much better, just to be owner and to have people that are doing all these executive officers and bosses and things like this. It's not necessary me to be this person. And last year I was in a millionaire business school with Peter Sage in Cyprus, and there I was reflecting again upon my identity, and I realized that I'm not more a business owner, a businessman, a business person. I'm more and more being transformed into businesses owner. Because in the moment I have approximately 4 different businesses. One is in the energy, solar energy. The other is real estate, and 2 different pharmaceutical businesses. So, and of course the coaching business, which is totally different stream of income, where I'm just more into the help for now. But yeah, it's different thing, because I'm long term willing to establish myself, and I have put a vision for the next 20 years to establish myself in the digital space as someone that is of help in a specific area where I feel it's important for me in my own personal life, and I'm implementing all these things, and then I'm able to show others how to do it and to train them. And yeah, I mean, for me, I can share with you, in the moment we have more than 30 people working for me in the businesses. I'm willing they to become more than 80 in the next 5 to 7 years. And because I'm stretching myself to not be limited by thinking about excess. And when I was thinking about it, I said, okay, Alex, what is the one thing that is really going to blow me away in my mindset? And then I said, okay, I'm going to envision myself and I'm going to embrace this identity of a billionaire where I need to think totally different about everything in reality. And from this perspective, I'm as poor as the person now who has 50,000 because I'm so far away from my goal. If his goal is, let's say, 1 million, he's much more closer than where my goal is. So I need to put so much more efforts. I need to really deep dive into understanding, into thriving, into a lot of things in order to move forward in my own personal reality that I have set up alone before me. And then actually there is, of course, place for the ego in the sense that it is a necessity, but there is so much to grow in humbleness and to know that nobody on this planet, it doesn't matter where he is or what type of being he is, we are just totally the same. Everything else doesn't matter, but only our inner being, the most important value that we are. All the other thing is just an ecosystem that we are creating around us where we can be of help and support as is allowed for us to express. But I was just willing to express that, wealth and abundance, and just to go from our small limitations into the next step. It's a beautiful thing, but life is limitless, so to say.
It really is. Yeah. We hit that point and go, wow, I barely scratched the surface. You know, we say, I want to make this much. You get there. Oh, wow, there's more.
Yeah, that's true.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
Okay, would you like to share something else, or we can finish here? And
yeah, it's been about an hour, huh? Well, I'll say that I'm very appreciative to be on here, Alexander. It was so refreshing. It was so refreshing to get your message, to say, hey, I want to connect. I saw your live, a few weeks ago in Dubai, and I just saw the authenticity behind it, and I just went, wow, this was the intention behind filming this. And so it was really beautiful to have that moment and have you reach out. So I'm very, very appreciative and grateful of that. I'd say if there's ever anyone who's wanting to understand more about mindfulness and parenting in wealth and abundance, and wanting to also know how to actually do any kind of direct sales or network marketing in a way that's fruitful and makes other people feel valued, will make you feel valued as well, I'm more than happy to contact you or reach out to you, or you can reach out to me. The best ways you can reach out is, of course, my Facebook. You can message me from Biffy Ippel. You can also message me on Instagram. My name is Bodacious Biffy on there. And then you also can email me. So it's Ippel, Ippel 112 @gmail.com. Last thing I'll add to that too, Alexander, is part of our wealth and investment club. We've got some deals going on actually this upcoming month of February. So if anyone would like to speak with me on how that could possibly help and add value to you, then you can contact me from those ways as well to help get you set with your goals or get you set on track with where you're wanting to go.
And do you have also a web page? We can put it later in the...
Yeah, I can send you some of my web pages and everything. Yeah, I've got a few pages, actually, web pages for my parent coaching business, but I'll put those ones down, and I'm in the process of doing it for my other business as well.
Okay, so yeah, we are going to put more contact so that who is willing to connect with you can connect
Perfect.
and just start its own journey. As we all heard here, there are so many things and there are so many possibilities. The only thing is we just are to start as you started in 2020. This is the other thing I like, because approximately I also started in October 2020, my totally new experience. So it is also some
Yeah.
a very funny thing. Yeah.
Yeah. How wonderful. Well, I'm grateful to know you and meet you, or virtual meet you, and I'm excited for staying connected and everything.
Okay. So thank you everyone for watching today Reality Talk with Alex. I hope all of us have understood and realized a lot of new different things about reality, about what is possible, and how are we able to support each other in so different specific areas. So thank you all. Have a nice reality, and let we have a much more enriching journeys ahead of us. Bye bye, Ify. Bye bye all.